There are nights when the sky falls like a vast black veil, and you suddenly fall silent in the space of your own being. In that stillness, a question echoes from deep within. What am I truly here for? Sometimes the question comes like a gentle breeze, sometimes like thunder that shakes your soul awake. Yet no matter how it arrives, it leaves a lasting echo. You feel that something is calling you, not from this world, but from somewhere higher and more sacred. Not everyone hears that call, but those who do know it cannot be ignored. Some say life is nothing but a chain of random events, meaningless and uncertain. But deep in your heart, you know that is not true. Every glance, every encounter, every time you stand at a crossroads carries the weight of divine arrangement. It is as if an unseen hand has woven a thread to guide you to where you are meant to go. This is not the game of chance. It is a sacred promise your soul made long before you set foot on this earth. Psalm 25:14 says, "The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them." A covenant was sealed in the unseen, a bond between you and your higher self. Before you came into this world, before your eyes first opened to the light, you nodded to an unbreakable vow. You chose, you agreed. Imagine this. In a place beyond time and space, your soul sat before the eternal mirror. All the possibilities of life unfolded like pages of a book. There, nothing was hidden by forgetfulness. You saw clearly the paths you would walk, the people you would meet, the challenges you would face, and the light you could become. In that moment, you did not hesitate. You said yes to the journey, even knowing it would bring tears, blood, and days when darkness seemed to swallow everything. Because you also knew it would be in that very darkness that your light would be born. And so you stepped into this life, like a traveler entering the infinite universe. But then, the veil of forgetfulness was drawn. You forgot the covenant. You believed you were lost, just a small body drifting in the crowd. Yet the soul does not forget. It leaves you signs, strange dreams, mysterious feelings, unexpected meetings that change the flow of your life. Each sign is like a seed of memory, waiting for the moment you touch it so it can bloom. Perhaps you have met a teacher who appeared just as you were about to collapse. Perhaps you have received an opportunity that opened a path you never imagined. Or maybe it was just a passing word from someone that became the key to seeing life with new eyes. These are never coincidences. They are reminders of the covenant to help you remember that your life is not without meaning. Some call this destiny. Some call it the will of God. No matter the name, the truth remains. Your journey is not random. It is a carefully woven adventure for your soul to grow, for you to become light for others. And this awareness is the first key to unlock the treasure of your life. But do you feel the weight of it? That heavy knowing that you agreed to something vast, beyond human understanding. Sometimes it makes you tired, even confused. If there really is a covenant, then why is the road so rough? Why do the wounds cut so deep? Do not rush to blame. Do not turn away. Remember that in the vow, you did not only agree to receive the light, you also agreed to walk through the fire. Just as gold must pass through the furnace, your soul must pass through pain to be refined. Every step you take, even the falls, is never wasted. You are not just a random passenger. You are a chosen traveler. And when a soul is chosen, its journey carries both glory and sorrow. They cannot be separated. They are woven together to form wholeness. Perhaps now you are walking through the darkest part, but even there, a light is rising. The light of the soul's memory, the light of the sacred covenant. When you open your heart to listen, you will realize the challenges ahead are not accidents. They are reminders calling you back to the vow. Like a distant bell, ringing closer with every step, you will hear it more clearly as you go. And in that echo, you will understand that everything you face is a necessary part of the path. The journey has just begun. The first signs have already appeared, and soon, the road will lead you to the place where the second covenant awaits, where the fire of trials will shape you, and where the true power of your soul will awaken. The path opens beneath your feet, as if it were a vast field, yet you realize it is not a random beginning. From your very first breath, you stepped into a plan already woven in the unseen. It was never just a birth, it was a choice. You chose, and your higher self also chose. Two choices met, becoming the first covenant. The covenant of soul agreement. You are not a lost guest wandering through this life. Your presence is intentional, conscious, and deeply sacred. Before you entered this world, before the veil of forgetfulness was drawn, you already knew what was waiting. In a moment of absolute clarity, free from any shadow of doubt, you saw the full map of your journey. You saw the time you would arrive, the circumstances you would live through, the people who would enter your life, and even the challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. And with a profound peace, you agreed. This is the contract of mutual choice. No one forced you. No one pushed you into this world. You came willingly, and your higher self smiled in agreement. That meeting became the foundation for everything you are about to live. In the Bible, there is a gentle reminder that echoes through Psalm 139-16. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. The days you live are not a blind chain of events. They have been seen, understood, and embraced long before you stepped in. This does not mean you are imprisoned by destiny. On the contrary, it confirms that every moment carries meaning. Every choice holds sacred weight. And then you look back at your life. The unexpected encounters that changed everything. The doors that opened exactly when you needed them. The opportunities that appeared as if someone had arranged them in advance. Have you ever wondered, why did this come to me at this exact time? That was not random. That was proof of the covenant. A reminder that you are on the right path, that the unseen hand still walks with you. Remember the time you stood at a turning point. It might have been when you changed careers, left a relationship, or stepped out of your comfort zone to seek your true self. In that moment, you heard a calling from deep within. It urged you to choose the harder way, the road less traveled, the path full of trials. Yet at the same time, you felt a mysterious strength lifting you, giving you the courage to walk forward. That was the presence of the covenant. You and your higher self had already chosen it together. This is why your life will never be just a meaningless string of days. It is like a grand symphony, each note written with precision, coming together to form a greater melody. You may not always hear the full music, but piece by piece, harmony by harmony, it reveals itself, leaving you in awe of its perfection. Yet to live this covenant fully, you must embrace a new attitude. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of fate, you must rise as a co-creator. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You must ask, what is this teaching me? With this shift, you see that every challenge carries a message, every joy is a blessing, and every failure hides another door waiting to open. When you live with this awareness, you no longer walk like a blind traveler in the night. You walk like a pilgrim holding a torch, and the light in your hand comes from the soul covenant, from the choice you made in clarity before you came here. That light not only guides you, it shines for others who are lost, because when one person remembers their covenant, they become living proof for others that life has purpose, order, and love hidden in every turn. But with this awakening also comes the awareness of inevitable trials. You begin to see clearly that the contract of mutual choice does not only grant you presence in this world, it also opens the way to the next covenant, the covenant of endurance in challenge. And when darkness comes, when contrary winds blow against you, you will remember that this too was part of the plan, part of the agreement from the very beginning. Something is waiting ahead, a trial that may wear down the body, but will forge the soul. And as you stand at the threshold of that fire, a voice whispers from deep within, be courageous, for you have already agreed to this, and within it you will discover a strength you never knew you had. The path begins to narrow. The sky is no longer as bright as in the first days. Dark clouds gather, cold winds strike your skin, and you realize this is the place where the second covenant reveals its power, the covenant of enduring trials. No soul comes into this world without facing darkness, and neither do you. But the darkness does not come to destroy you. It comes to forge you, like fire-hardened steel, like a river-shaped stone to reveal the gem inside. You remember the moments that once left you breathless, losing someone you loved, watching your work collapse, seeing a love you thought would last forever fall apart. In those moments, you asked, why is life so unfair to me? But looking back, you begin to see they were not random. They came as lessons, as doors you were forced to open, as turning points that made you grow. Some lose a job only to discover their true calling. Some lose a relationship only to learn to love themselves before they love another. Some fall to the deepest depths of pain. Yet in that very place, they find a strength they never knew they had. The covenant of trials is never easy, but it is the sacred agreement you made so your soul could mature. As the Bible echoes in Romans 8:18, the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That glory is not fame or wealth, but spiritual strength, resilience, and compassion that only come when you have walked through the darkness. Imagine a seed. If it remains on the surface, it will never sprout. Only when it is buried in the dark soil, pressed by weight and beaten by rain, does it break open and rise into new life. Your soul is the same. Hardship does not come to crush you. It comes to crack the shell of pride and reveal your true essence. And when you stand in your hardest days, pause and listen. You will hear your heartbeat, strong and steady, like a drum declaring you are still here. You can still go on. You will hear the whisper from deep within. Do not be afraid. I agreed to this journey. That awareness transforms you from a sufferer into a warrior, from a victim into one who rises, from darkness into light. Yet let us be honest. There are times you want to give up, days when you feel you cannot hold on for even one more second. In those moments, despair feels like a heavy cloud covering every path. And it is in those very moments that the true power of your soul is revealed. Because unless you touch your own limits, you will never know how far you can go. This pain is not only for you. When you have fallen and risen again, you become a living testimony for others. You can look into the eyes of someone in despair and say, I know, I have been there, and I know you can make it through. Your suffering becomes light for another, turning you into a lantern in the night. In this way, your pain is never wasted. Remember, the covenant of trials is preparation. It sharpens you for something greater, for the awakening and service yet to come. And each time you feel weak, remember that your strength is not only in your hands, but in a spirit that refuses to bow. This is also the moment I invite you to pause. If these words touch your heart, if you have walked through such valleys, take a deep breath and share this journey with others. A like, a share, or a simple subscribe is not just an action on a screen. It is a way of carrying the message further so that someone still in the dark may hear it and know they are not alone. Perhaps you are the bridge that brings this message to the one who needs it most. And if that happens, then your yes, your covenant of the soul, has become a light guiding another. The harsh days will continue. No one promised this path would be easy. But remember, the fire of trials does not burn you down. It refines you into pure gold. And just when you think you cannot go on, another door will open, leading you closer to the light of awakening. Lift your head. Look beyond the storm within. You will see the truth. These sufferings are only the beginning of a far greater journey. And from the darkness, a new light is rising. A light that announces your awakening is near. After the raging storms, when your body is weary and your heart feels shattered, you begin to hear something different. It is not the noise of the world, not the howl of the wind, not even your own cries. It is a gentle echo, fragile yet powerful, like a thread of light breaking through the night. This is the sign of the third covenant, the covenant of spiritual awakening. Awakening is not an event you can predict. It arrives when you least expect it, sometimes in the deepest pain, sometimes in radiant joy, and sometimes in a moment that seems ordinary. You may be sitting quietly by a window, watching the light of dawn spill across the sky, and suddenly you know you are not alone. Or you may be facing a crisis, and just as you think you will collapse, an invisible door opens, and you glimpse the true essence of life. The story of Saul on the road to Damascus is a clear reminder. A man who once walked the path of violence in a single moment of light was transformed into Paul, a bearer of love and faith for humanity. Awakening is not just a shift in belief. It is the overturning of the soul itself, a turning that dissolves old values to make room for new light. And when that moment comes to you, it cannot be denied. Psalm 36:9 offers this truth. In your light, we see light. When your eyes open to divine light, you no longer see the world as before. Trees, the sky, the people around you, all appear as part of a greater whole. You see the invisible connection that binds every soul. You see love hidden even in the darkest places. This moment of awakening is not the end. It is a doorway, a doorway that opens so you can step into a new way of living, the life of awareness. As you walk through, the illusions that once clouded your mind begin to fade. You realize that all the pain, all the trials you thought were meaningless, were signs leading you here, leading you to remembrance. There is often a sacred sign in this stage of the journey, like a secret number sent by the universe. It is 111, the number of new beginnings. It often appears just after a major shift, or when you are standing on the edge of change. 111 is a reminder that the door is opening, that a new cycle of the soul has begun. Whenever you see this number, on a clock, on a receipt, anywhere at all, take it as a message that you are not alone. The universe is whispering, stay awake. A new chapter is unfolding. Awakening may come as gently as the morning sun, or as fiercely as a storm. But however it comes, it leaves a mark that cannot be erased. You begin to feel different. What once mattered now seems small. The fears that once haunted you begin to dissolve, and a deep love for life itself starts to bloom in your heart. But do you see it? Along with awakening comes responsibility. When the light rises, you cannot live as before. You cannot return to unconscious living, chasing after empty things. Your soul longs for more. It longs to live with purpose, to become the light you were born to bring into this world. Perhaps you have seen someone who shines, not because of wealth or power, but because the light within them cannot be hidden. They live with a presence that makes others feel loved, safe, and seen. That is the image of an awakened soul, a soul that has stepped into the third covenant and lives it fully. When you awaken, you too begin to shine in this way. You become a light for those still lost. You do not need to preach, for your very presence is testimony. The light in you spreads through your eyes, your smile, even the smallest gestures. Others feel it without a word. Of course, the path of awakening is not always straight. There will be moments of doubt, times when you want to return to the old life. The light can feel too bright, the responsibility too heavy. But remember, every step you take is another yes to the covenant. And as you keep walking, you realize your soul can never fall asleep again. From the fire of trials, the light of awakening has risen. And now, you are preparing to step into the next chapter of the journey. If awakening is the doorway, then what waits beyond it is the call to service, a covenant not just for you, but for all of humanity. The light of awakening is not meant to be kept for yourself. It comes to be shared, to spread, to become living action in each day you walk on this earth. When your spiritual eyes open, you realize a profound truth. Your life does not belong only to you. You were not born just to seek personal joy, but to become an instrument of a greater love. And in that moment, the fourth covenant begins to carve itself into your soul, the covenant of service. Service is not a burden. It is not a bitter sacrifice. Service is the natural rhythm of a heart that has awakened, a heart that knows every soul is connected in the same vast tapestry of the universe. When you love and lift others, you are also healing yourself. When you reach out to a soul that is lost, you are also strengthening your own steps on the path. Remember the one who went before, the one who left a living example that cannot fade, Jesus. He did not live to seek status or power. He walked among humanity, touching the forgotten, healing the sick, sharing bread with the hungry, and forgiving those who condemned him. Each act was proof that the greatest life is a life of service. He chose to let the light of love shine not only on him, but through him to all people. You may think you are not great enough to do the same. But remember, service is not only found in deeds that history records. Sometimes it is as simple as a smile for someone who is sad, a word of encouragement for someone in despair, or a quiet, loving presence beside someone in pain. Service is not a one-time act. It is a way of life. A flame you carry in your heart and share in every small moment. There may be times when you are called to greater service, to defend justice, to speak for those without a voice, or to create solutions that lift communities out of darkness. But there may also be times when your service lies in the simplest places, being a friend who listens, a neighbor who helps, a parent who teaches kindness. Every act, no matter how small, is part of the grand design of the covenant of service. When you truly live with this covenant, you feel a deep shift within. Selfish ambition begins to fade. You no longer chase success to prove your worth. You find meaning in becoming light for others, And in that place, a joy rises in you that no wealth or fame could ever bring, because it flows from living your sacred purpose. Have you ever wondered, why do I feel compelled to help others even when no one asks? That is your soul reminding you of the covenant. It is the call you agreed to before you arrived here. You nodded yes, and now each experience is leading you back to that vow. Of course, there will be times you feel tired. You may ask yourself if you are giving too much. But remember, service is not about depletion. It is about allowing the flow of love to move through you, and as it moves through, it also fills you. You are not the source. You are the vessel. And when you let divine love flow, you will never run dry. The mystery is this: in giving, you receive more. In lifting others, you find your own heart healed. And in forgetting yourself to serve, you discover your truest self. This is the sacred paradox. Only those who enter the covenant of service can fully understand. Perhaps, in your life, someone once helped you when you were weak. Maybe it was a stranger's smile at the right moment, a friend who stood by you in the night, or a voice that offered counsel and changed your path. These people are proof of this covenant. And now, you too are called to become such proof for someone else. Do you hear that call? It does not shout, it whispers from deep within. Live for something greater than yourself. Each time you respond to that call, you are writing another note in the sacred symphony of your soul. And as you serve, something miraculous happens. Old wounds within you begin to surface. You realize that to truly give love, you must also learn to heal yourself. And this is where the next covenant awaits. The covenant of healing. A journey not only to mend your own pain, but to release the invisible chains carried through generations. As the light of service ignites, it will shine into the hidden corners of your being, where old wounds wait to be transformed. And from there, the journey of healing begins. As you walk in the light of service, something mysterious begins to happen. That light does not only spread outward, it also shines inward, reaching into the hidden corners you have long tried to forget. There lie the old wounds, the painful memories, the broken relationships, the betrayals, the silent cries that were never answered. And when the light touches them, you realize that to truly serve, to give love fully, you must first heal yourself. This is the next covenant, the covenant of healing. Healing is not an easy path. It requires you to turn back and face the pain you once tried to bury. You may find yourself caught in repeating patterns, like a cycle you cannot escape. The same type of person showing up in relationships, the same feeling of abandonment returning, the same betrayal repeating in different forms. You may have asked, why does this keep happening to me? But now, as the light shines, you begin to see that it is not coincidence. It is a lesson of the soul, an opportunity to heal at the root. Psalm 147:3 reminds us, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. These are not words of comfort only, but a promise. No wound in you is meaningless. No tear you have shed has been forgotten. All of it is material for transformation. You may remember a time when a wound seemed like it would destroy you. Perhaps it was a loss beyond repair. Perhaps it was rejection that shattered you. But as the years passed, you looked back and saw that the wound itself had taught you to love more deeply, to feel compassion for those in pain, to release what no longer belonged to you. Healing does not mean erasing memory. It means learning to see the memory with new eyes, the eyes of compassion, forgiveness, and wisdom. Forgiveness does not deny the pain. It simply chooses not to let it imprison you any longer. Forgiveness is the key that opens the locked door of the soul, setting both you and others free. Sometimes the hardest part is not forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. How many times have you judged yourself, condemned yourself for mistakes, for choices you thought had ruined everything? The covenant of healing invites you to lay down that burden. Your soul did not come here to be condemned, but to learn and to evolve. Every mistake is a lesson, every fall is a teaching, and self-compassion is the beginning of true restoration. Notice this. As you begin the process of healing, the universe sends people and situations as mirrors. A new person may stir up an old pain, not to harm you further, but to give you a chance to face it and release it. A familiar situation may return, and this time you are invited to respond with wisdom instead of fear. These are turning points, where you step out of the old cycle and into a new one. This process is not without pain. You may cry in the night, You may feel your heart heavy as if gripped in a vice. But do not forget, in that very pain, healing is taking place. Just as the body aches when a wound is being cleansed, the soul aches when the past is lifted for release. Do not fear this pain, for it is a sign you are on the right path. And you are never alone. The companions you meet along the way, perhaps a spiritual teacher, a close friend, or even a stranger, may be healers sent to you. Beyond them, there are unseen allies, angels, spirit guides who stand with you, whispering encouragement, giving strength when you think you cannot go on. Healing does not bring peace to you alone. It flows outward to those connected to you. Each time you release a wound, its energy no longer binds your children, your family, or the generations after you. You are breaking the chains of karma that have lingered too long. You are opening the way for love to flow freely through many lives, and then one day, you wake and realize that the wound which once made you weep without end has become a quiet scar. You no longer look at it with bitterness, but with gratitude, for it brought you here. It taught you strength, patience, and deep love. This is the fulfillment of the covenant of healing, not erasing the past, but turning it into the foundation on which you now stand, with steadier feet and a wider heart. Yet the journey does not end here. As your wounds begin to close, another calling rises. A call to live not only with knowledge or emotion alone, but with a union of both. A call to step into the next covenant, the covenant of unified wisdom. When your wounds begin to close, and your heart starts to breathe again in the rhythm of peace, a new sound echoes within your soul. It is not the cry of suffering, nor only the gentle warmth of healing. It is a deeper invitation, calling you to step into the maturity of wisdom. This is the next covenant, the covenant of unity between knowledge and emotion, between a sharp mind and a loving heart. From childhood, you were taught to learn, to collect knowledge, to think logically. Knowledge is a great treasure, but if it stands alone, the soul grows dry, like a river without water. Emotion is the source of empathy, but if it rules without direction, the ship of life is easily lost in storms. The covenant of wisdom reminds you that both are needed, and only in harmony do you touch true understanding. Imagine someone standing before an important decision. Their reason tells them the easy path will bring quick gain, but the heart whispers that the harder path is the one true to the soul. If they listen only to reason, they may succeed quickly but lose peace. If they listen only to emotion, they may make reckless choices. But when mind and heart unite, the decision is both right and compassionate. That is the sign of true wisdom. The Bible tells the story of King Solomon. When given the chance to ask for anything, he did not ask for gold, victory, or power. He asked only for wisdom, to govern his people with justice. His request was granted, and his wisdom became legendary, more precious than any treasure. This story reminds you that wisdom is not the collection of facts, but the ability to discern, to see the essence of things, and to choose from love. When you live in the covenant of wisdom, you begin to see every situation with wider eyes. You no longer rush to react when attacked, because you understand that behind another's anger may lie unhealed pain. You no longer dismiss the small matters, because you know even the smallest details may carry the greatest lessons. And you are not easily carried away by glittering success, because you know the true prize is the growth of the soul. Perhaps you have lived such a moment, when everyone else chose the easy road, but you chose differently, chose the harder one, because your heart knew it was right. You felt alone, yet within that solitude was an unshakable peace. In that moment, you stepped into the union of reason and love. You lived fully in this covenant. But this journey is not always smooth. At times you will face moral tests, to do what is right but lose much, or to do what is easy and betray your conscience. At times, you will have to stay silent and listen, even when your mind screams to act. At times you will learn to put love above calculation, only to discover that love itself is the deepest wisdom. The covenant of wisdom makes you a guidepost for others. When you stand firm between reason and compassion, you become a refuge for those who are lost. Others will come to you not only because you are intelligent, but because you see them with eyes that are both clear and kind. You become a leader, not by control, but by wisdom, not by power, but by inspiration. And there is a truth you will realize as you live in this covenant. Every choice you make ripples outward, touching your community, your family, even generations to come. When you act from wisdom and love, you plant seeds of light. Those seeds will bear fruit for many lives. As you grow in this union, a new lesson appears. For true wisdom is not forged in solitude alone, but in the friction of human interaction. Only when you face difficult relationships, conflicts, and the challenge of those who are hardest to love, do you discover how deeply you have matured. Another door begins to open, leading you into the next covenant, the covenant of compassion in relationships. Here, wisdom and love are no longer ideas. They must become the very breath in every encounter. And in the rugged soil of human connection, the seeds of compassion will be planted, and they will bloom. There is a truth you will soon discover. Wisdom, no matter how clear, is only a silent lamp unless it is tested in the fire of everyday relationships. For we do not live in isolation, but in the web of countless connections, with family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers who pass briefly through our lives. It is within these encounters and collisions that the soul is refined. And this is where the next covenant unfolds, the covenant of compassion in interaction. Compassion is not a fleeting feeling. It is not pity, nor simple politeness. Compassion is the softest and yet the strongest power a soul can grow into. It asks you to expand your heart, to love even when love is not returned, to forgive even when you have every right to cling to anger. Above all, it invites you to see the light in others, even when their outer shell is nothing but darkness. Psalm 103:8 declares, "The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love." These are not only words about God, they are a model for your soul. When you learn to slow your anger, when you choose kindness over reaction, you reflect that divine quality in your own life. Think back to the last time someone hurt you. Perhaps it was a colleague who criticized you, a family member who misunderstood you, or a stranger who treated you harshly. The natural reaction is anger, defense, maybe even revenge. But sometimes, deep inside, you hear a quiet voice. Look beyond their words. See the pain behind their actions. And if you choose to listen to that voice, you are living the covenant of compassion. You have shifted from reaction to understanding, from hatred to healing. Compassion does not mean allowing others to wound you endlessly. It does not mean enduring injustice in silence. True compassion carries the strength to set healthy boundaries, to say no with clarity but without cruelty. It allows you to protect yourself without losing love in your heart. There are people who enter your life only to test this compassion. They are the hidden teachers, arriving as irritants, opponents, even enemies. But in truth, they are playing roles to help you learn this lesson. Without them, how would you know how vast your heart can be? Without them, how would you learn that forgiveness is the key that truly frees the soul? You will also meet other souls, broken and weary, searching for a spark of light to keep them from drowning in darkness. They may come to you in their complaints, in their weakness, in their unspoken wounds. And in that moment, you have a choice: to turn away and stay safe, or to remain as a shoulder, even just once. When you choose to be present with compassion, you are living this covenant. The wonder of compassion is that it never stays with one person. Each time you plant a seed of compassion, it ripples outward. A smile you give to someone in despair may give them strength to treat the next person with kindness. A forgiveness you extend may dissolve chains of resentment carried for generations. Compassion is like a stream, and wherever it flows, it refreshes not just one patch of earth, but a whole forest. But be prepared. This covenant will test you deeply. There will be moments when you feel drained, as if your kindness has been taken advantage of. There will be days you want to close your heart, because keeping it open feels too vulnerable. In those moments, remember that compassion does not come from you alone. It flows from the divine love moving through you. You are not a limited reservoir. You are a river connected to the infinite ocean. And as you walk deeper into this covenant, you will sense an invisible protection around you. It will feel as if great arms are holding you, making sure you never truly fall. This is the reminder that you are never alone. Sacred signs will appear to affirm this truth, and one of them is drawing near, carrying the message of protection and solid foundation. As you continue along the path of compassion, listen to your heartbeat. It becomes the bridge that connects you to the heartbeat of the universe, where all souls are joined in love. And it is here that you will be led to the next sign of the journey, the divine protection marked by the number 444, There are moments when you bow your head, convinced that your strength is gone. You have loved, you have forgiven, you have opened your heart even to the hardest souls to love. But in the depth of weakness, you hear a gentle whisper, like an unseen hand resting on your shoulder. You are not alone. That is when another covenant begins to shine, the covenant of divine protection, marked by the number 444. This number is not just digits appearing by chance on a clock, a receipt, or a license plate. It is a sacred seal, a code sent by the universe to remind you that a wall of light surrounds you, that you are standing on a firm foundation set by your higher self and the angels long before you arrived. 444 is the assurance that you are guarded, you are kept, and you do not have to fight alone. Think back to a time when you stood at the edge of despair, and then something unexpected happened. Perhaps a friend appeared at the right moment. Perhaps an opportunity came when you had lost hope. Or perhaps you felt a sudden peace wash over you for no reason at all. Those moments are signs of divine protection, as if an invisible hand pulled you from the edge and placed you back on your path. The Bible speaks of this protection many times. In Psalm 91, it says, "He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." These words are not only comfort, they are confirmation. Not one step you take is truly alone. When you stumble, a hand is there to lift you. When you are lost, a light is there to guide you home. The truth is, this protection does not always come as dramatic miracles. Often it is subtle, revealed only in hindsight. A near accident you narrowly escaped. A sudden decision that spared you from harm. An intuition that urged you to pause or change direction. All of these are guidance from a higher source. And every time you see the number 444, take it as a reminder. I am here. I am holding you. This does not mean you will never face hardship again. Challenges will still come, for they are part of the journey. But now, you walk with the certainty that you are shielded. You are like a warrior, entering battle clothed in invisible armor. Not to avoid every arrow, but to know that no arrow can destroy your soul. And this protection is not only for you. When you live in its light, you also become a vessel of protection for others. You become a safe place where people can rest, a voice of encouragement when they are weary, a hand to lift them when they fall. The protection you receive flows outward, creating a wider circle of light. Perhaps you have looked into the eyes of someone in despair and felt the urge to speak, to stay present so they could feel safe. That is divine protection moving through you, not from you, but from the greater source, using you as its channel. When you realize this deeply, you begin to walk differently. You no longer tremble before the storm, for storms are only surface shadows, while within you lies a place untouchable. You no longer fear the dark, for the flame of protection burns within. You no longer fear loneliness, for 444 will continue to appear as proof that you have never been abandoned. Many people testify that as they begin to awaken, the number 444 shows up more and more. They see it when they need confirmation, when they stand at a crossroads, when they wonder if they are on the right path. If you too have seen this number, pause, take a deep breath, and smile, for it is a clear message. You are being protected. Let your heart remember this. You were not only chosen to walk the journey, you were chosen to be kept along the way. This protection is not to shield you from every trial, but to give you courage to face them, knowing you never stand alone. And from this protection, a deeper transformation begins. For when you feel safe, your soul can finally let go, open wide, and receive the fullness of light. And in that moment, the next covenant begins to unfold, the covenant of transformation, where you do not merely survive, but are truly reborn in the light. There comes a moment on the journey when you look back and realize that your old self has slowly fallen away with each step. The rigid shells, the limiting beliefs, the deep fears that once bound you, all seem to be dissolving. You now stand before a new threshold, where darkness no longer has power over you, and a profound transformation begins. This is the next covenant, the covenant of transformation. Transformation is not a change of appearance. It is not simply altering your lifestyle, your job, or your habits. Transformation is the rebirth of the soul at its deepest level. It is like the caterpillar in its dark, cramped cocoon, pressed on every side, until one day the shell breaks and the butterfly emerges. Your soul is the same. The years of pain, the wounds and trials, have been your cocoon. And now, you are preparing to spread your wings. Revelation 21:5 declares, "Behold, I make all things new." This is not a vague promise. It is a truth you can feel in your own heart. When transformation begins, you see every part of yourself renewed. Your thoughts no longer ruled by fear. Your heart no longer imprisoned by resentment. Your soul no longer chained by the darkness of the past. You are made new, like dry earth soaked by spring rain, like a barren tree sprouting tender green shoots. This transformation may arrive suddenly. One morning you wake and see the world with different eyes. Colors seem brighter. The air feels fresher. Even pain itself carries new meaning. You no longer fear suffering, for you see it only as a path to light. You no longer fear loss, for you understand nothing is truly lost. Everything only changes form. At other times, transformation comes slowly. Day by day, you notice yourself reacting differently. Less anger, less despair, less judgment. Bit by bit, you are set free. And when you look back, you realize you are no longer the same. It is as if a new being has been born. Transformation is not a gift given once and then complete. It is an unfolding process. Each shell that falls away reveals a new layer of light. Each challenge that comes is an opportunity to transform again. And the more you transform, the more you resemble the true essence of your soul, pure, strong, radiant. The miracle is that as you transform, the world around you transforms as well. Relationships grow deeper. Work is no longer just survival, but a chance to give meaning. Even difficulties remain, but you no longer see them as enemies. You see them as teachers. You begin to live in harmony, where everything contributes to your growth. This transformation carries with it a sense of freedom. It feels as though the chains that bound you for years have fallen away. The inner voices of judgment, the pressures from the world, no longer hold you captive. You know who you are, where you belong, and where you are heading. This is true freedom, a freedom not shaped by circumstances, but rising from within. Picture a flame burning in the dark. At first it is small, fragile, trembling in the wind. But with every trial you endure, with every storm you stand through, the flame grows. And now it is no longer small. It is a blazing torch that lights the sky. This is the image of transformation. But remember, transformation is not for you alone. It is a living testimony for others. When someone sees that you once suffered, that you once fell, yet now you rise with light in your eyes, they will believe they can too. When you live renewed, you become proof that light is always stronger than darkness. And without words, your life itself becomes a message. From this transformation, you begin to hear a greater call. It is not only for you, but for all humanity. A universal message, beyond borders, beyond languages, touching every soul that longs for meaning. And this message becomes the next step in the journey, the covenant of spiritual message, where your soul becomes a voice in the great symphony of the universe. When the flame of transformation has risen within you, its light no longer shines only on your personal path. It begins to spread, touching the souls around you, merging into the greater flow of humanity. And this is when you realize your journey has never been alone. Every step you take is woven into an invisible symphony, a symphony all of humanity is writing together. This is the next covenant, the covenant of spiritual message, the universal truth your soul is called to carry. This message is not new. It is echoed since the beginning of creation, spoken through prophets, through the scriptures, through awakened souls in every culture. The message is simple, yet profound. All is connected, and all is loved. When you truly grasp this, the walls of separation fall away. The walls of race, religion, language, and history. You begin to see that every soul, no matter how different, is weaving together the same sacred tapestry. Certain numbers appear to confirm this truth as signs sent by the universe to awaken you. One of the most powerful is 777. It is the number of revelation, of universal mystery, of soul awakening. When you see 777, it is a reminder that you are reaching a deeper layer of the journey. It signals connection with higher truth, that you are being guided to share light not only for yourself, but for the collective. Notice this. 777 often appears at moments when you sense you have found the true voice of your soul. It may come when you decide to live according to your values, or when you speak words of comfort to someone and realize they flowed from a source beyond you. When you see this number, smile. for it is proof you are in harmony with the universe. The message you carry is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to spread, because light becomes true light only when it shines into darkness. You may be called to share it through words, through art, through your work, or simply through the way you live each day. Every choice you make, if born of love and wisdom, becomes a message to the world. And the message does not need to be complex. Sometimes it is your silent presence that makes others feel safe. Sometimes it is listening without judgment. Sometimes it is standing for truth, even when you stand alone. All of these together form the spiritual message you agreed to bring when you signed this covenant. When you live this way, you become a voice in the great symphony of the universe. A voice that may feel small, yet when joined with countless others, creates a sacred song that echoes across eternity. And then you realize you are not the only one who carries a message. Every soul carries its own, and together they shape the awakening of humanity. There is something important I want to share with you. When you encounter numbers like 111, 444, or 777 along your journey, let your heart choose the one that resonates most deeply. That is the seal of your soul, the confirmation that you are hearing the call meant for you. If you have seen one of these numbers appear again and again, pause for a moment, write it down, or even share it with others. When you share, you not only affirm it for yourself, you spark recognition in other souls who carry their own signs. And if you feel ready, leave that number behind as a gift, because sometimes one small act of sharing can become the light that guides someone searching in the dark. The spiritual message does not stop within the individual. It radiates outward into the world. Humanity needs light now more than ever, needs souls who dare to live true, to give love, to declare that darkness will never have the final word. And you are part of that answer. But the journey is not yet complete. For after carrying the message, your soul still holds one more promise, the covenant of blessing and completion, where all the covenants merge into one, and you stand fully in the light. It is the final note, and yet the beginning of a new song, closing this long chapter to open the eternal hymn. Every piece of music, no matter how long, must one day reach its final note. But for the soul, the final note is never the end. It is only a transition from one chapter to the next, from one cycle of existence into a wider, greater one. You've walked through 11 covenants. You've been tested, awakened, healed, transformed, and entrusted with the message. Now you stand at the conclusion, where all journeys merge into one, where blessing is spoken as a sacred note. Through this path, you have learned that life is never random. Every pain holds meaning, every encounter is arranged, and every wound can become a doorway to light. You have learned to rise after falling, to forgive both others and yourself, to love even when it was hardest. Most of all, you have learned that you are never alone. Protection, guidance, and light have always walked beside you. As you look back, you see that the person you are today is not the one who first stepped onto this journey. Fear has faded, walls have fallen, and in their place has come openness and trust. You are no longer only a survivor. You are one who has risen. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." These words are no longer only text on a page. They are truth you can feel. When your heart beats in harmony with the Creator, when your joy flows from living in alignment with your soul's covenant, your deepest desires, the longing to be loved, to be safe, to be meaningful, are fulfilled. Now you carry a treasure. It is not wealth. It is not fame. It is light. Light that shines from wounds healed, from lessons learned, from tears shed, and from smiles restored. And this treasure is not for you to keep. It is for you to share, to shine for those still searching in the dark. But you may still wonder, does the journey ever truly end? The answer is no. The soul's journey is eternal. Each time one cycle completes, another begins. Each lesson mastered opens into a deeper one. This is the wonder, that your soul can always rise higher, shine brighter, live freer. Think of your life as a great book. The pages already written cannot be changed, but you can read them with new eyes, seeing that every line had purpose. And as you turn to the next page, the pen in your hand glows, ready to write the chapters to come with wisdom and love. At this closing, I invite you to do something simple yet sacred. Breathe deeply, close your eyes, and thank your own soul. Thank it for agreeing to these covenants. Thank it for walking forward, even when all seemed lost. Thank it for never abandoning the light. In gratitude to yourself, you open the door to a new journey of blessing. And now, listen with your heart. Along the way, you have seen the sacred numbers 111, 444, and 777. Each carries a seal, a sign of a new beginning, of protection, of cosmic awakening. Which one has resonated most deeply with your soul? Which one has appeared in your life again and again as a sign you could not ignore? Hold it in your heart, and if you feel ready, share it. Share it with others so their souls may also recognize the signs they carry. Sometimes, one small act of sharing can be the light that opens another's door. And if this journey has touched you, if this light feels worth carrying, I invite you to walk further with it. Leave a word, a sign, a small act so that the flame continues to spread. A comment, a connection, a single step forward, not only to keep your own flame alive, but to feed the fire of the awakening soul community. Remember, you are not simply existing, you are ascending. You are not only moving through days, you are helping write a sacred song, and in that song, you are a note unlike any other, irreplaceable and eternal. This music may close, but its resonance will never fade. From within that resonance, a blessing is spoken over you. May your heart always shine. May your eyes always see the light. May your hands always be a refuge for the weary. And may your soul always know it is loved without condition. Walk on, chosen soul. For the path has never ended. It only widens, only grows brighter, only overflows with grace. And as you step forward, carry this light so that everywhere you walk rises with the brilliance of a new dawn. Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.